Okay guys, I'm going to go ahead and do activity 3.5, applied statistics. My instructions here to say open the class height data with Microsoft Excel. Follow along in class to fill in your deliverable in case you're not here. I'm going to go ahead and pretty much do what I'm doing in class. So I have a deliverable. I've tried to highlight what you're actually recording and turning in to show that you've been through this exercise. And I also have a class height data. I'm going to go ahead and copy this central row. I'm not too worried about the initials or the class period. That's not going to do me any good, but I'm going to copy that data and go ahead and put it into a blank Excel spreadsheet. I'm sure that you probably could do all of this in Google Sheets, but our curriculum calls us for us to use Microsoft Excel. So let's get started. The first thing that I'm asked to do is I am asked to calculate the mean average, which is the median average and the mode average also. So let's begin there. I'll show you a couple ways of doing that. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to show you just kind of an old school way of doing this without using the average function, because I want you to see how formulas work in Excel. I'm going to come down here to the bottom of this screen, and right here I'm going to go ahead and type in equals. At this point it's looking for a formula. I could certainly put the average there. Instead I'm going to put the sum, and then it wants a range of numbers here that it's going to take from. It's defaulted to A2 to A75, which means going from this cell to this cell. It typically tries to anticipate what you want, which I do. I want the sum of those. There are 74 of those characters, so the one below it, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to hit equals, and I'm going to click on this cell, which means that value, and I'm going to divide it by 74 because that's the total number of heights that I had recorded. And there I have 68.74243 inches. That's a little bit too many decimal places for me, so I'm going to go ahead and right click right now in there, format that as a number, and tell it to go to 2 decimal places, and that's a little bit easier. So it's 68.75 inches about. A different way of doing that, and frankly a quicker way, would just be when I come here to take the average, I hit the equals. Average is actually an option, so I'm going to go ahead and hit the average again of A2 to E75. If it didn't select my data properly, I would go in and just draw a box around it, but I can get that same number there. I undid my format when I went backwards, so I'll redo that just to make it nice. Okay, so 68.74 is the number that I would come over and enter into my mean right here. So right here, you're going to put that number. As far as determining your median, it would be very helpful to sort this data. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take all of this and I'm going to select. Notice I did not select my average because that's not a piece of the data. I did not select my height. And I'm just going to come up here and sort smallest to largest, and it'll do that. Now, when determining the mean average, the mean average is, let me find here, or the median average, I apologize. The median average is the central tendency, that is the value that occurs in the middle of the set of data. There will be as many pieces of data above as there are below. So once I have it sorted like this, it's not very hard. I have 74 pieces of data from here to here. So the first 37 ends at actually number 38 because one of those rows is for my label of height, and the next 37 are below that. So the halfway point where there's 37 above and 37 below is right here between lines 38 and 39. The value between these two numbers is 69 because that's, it's 69 and 69. If it were 68 and 70, the value would be 69. So that is going to be giving my median value. So I come over here and type in 69 right here. Next, I'm asked to do the central tendency, which is the mode. The mode is the one which most frequently appears. So I look, 62 appears twice, 63 appears twice, 64 3 times. And I start scanning. 66, 1, 2, 3, 4 occurs 8 times. I'm going to find that 68 actually occurs 10 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And nothing else tops that. So 68 is my mode, which is my one that occurs most often. So again, I'll go back to my measurement and I'll put that in there. It's 68. Next is range. Range is simply the maximum minus the minimum. So my students' range, the maximum is 76, the minimum is 59. 76 minus 59 is 17. So my students fall in a range from 59 to 76, or in a range of 17 inches. So coming back here, I would put 17 inches. And now I'm getting to the difficulty, the standard deviation. Standard deviation is going to be, if I take a look at our PowerPoint, it's going to be relatively involved. Standard deviation is the square root of the average of the difference between an individual data value and the mean average squared divided by the number of individual data values, or the size of the population. So I'll do this in a couple steps, and I'll certainly do this with a bit of a formula here, and I'll show you a couple little tricks in Excel as we go. So what I'm going to first do is I'm going to calculate this value right here, the data value minus the average squared for each one. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to put equals, and then I'm going to put a parenthesis. Then I'm going to put that value minus, I'll scroll down to my average and I'll click on that. I'll put a right parentheses, and then to square something in Excel, I'm going to use that up arrow to the 2, and I'll hit enter, and it's given me my correct thing. Now, it has not done too terribly much yet. All it's done is it has given me the numerator of this object squared, or the numerator of this fraction right here, which is the data value minus the average squared. I'm going to now go ahead and calculate that for each one. If I come down here, what I can do is, if you look here, when I've clicked on this, there's a box, and down here in the right hand corner, there's a little solid box there. If I hover over it until I get a crosshair with my indicator here, I can pull that all the way down, and oh shucks, it didn't give me exactly what I wanted. If I take a look now at this, I can see that's did A3 minus A77. So what it tries to do is anticipate your pattern. So I moved down one, so it took that minus A77, which is the next one down here, which is 0. So I want that to pull from A76 each time. So I can do that with a little trick. And the trick is to pull this from the same place. I'm going to place in here between the A and the 76 a $sign. And by doing that, it doesn't trend or pattern when I do a repeated formula, and it'll give me the proper numbers. I'll be right back on the next one to format the next one, to format this.